What's up, everybody? So I am very happy to talk about today the recent news that is going to really shake up the OU metagame a lot. That news is that our good friend Cinderace will be coming back to the game on December 30th. Game Freak, they saw me. I was on the floor. I think I played 1 week of OU and I was on the floor screaming, begging, crying, please. I was like, please bring back my GOAT Cinderace. I've had enough. He needs to save the tier. He needs to come back immediately. And I'm very happy that they listened to me. They knew I could not wait till home. They knew I could not wait till home. I was not surviving till home. I needed Cinderace badly, and I needed him immediately. And December 30th, there will be a 7-star Terra Raid battle, which will allow Cinderace to be used in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and we'll introduce Cinderace to the OU metagame, which was confirmed by our tier leader Finchinator. Yes, Cinderace was Uber's last gen, but no Ubers this gen, at least not the start. I don't even think he's gonna get banned, like, to be honest, because he got nerfed anyway. But this is the confirmation. We are gonna have Cinderace back in OU, and I'm very excited to have him back. I cannot I cannot understate how excited I am for Cinderace to come back. So when you talk about Cinderace, like, one of the most important things that Cinderace does is I think he really counters a lot of the common HO archetypes that we've been seeing recently in OU. The number one Pokemon in the game, you see him every time, Mr. 35% usage, the OU golden boy, Goldengo. And a big part of why Goldengo is as good as he is, I mean, he's a crazy Pokemon in general. Typing's crazy, stats are crazy, but one of the things that Goldengo does is enable a lot of these hazard stacking offensive teams. This generation, since Defog was introduced in Gen 6, it has not been harder to remove hazards than it is right now. This is the hardest it's been to remove hazards since Defog was introduced, because you have a Pokemon that naturally spin blocks because of its ghost typing, but also block Defog. And I know some people will be like,
Well, back in the good old days, we didn't even have defog. We only had rapid spin. And we were just fine. We figured it out.
but the game has just changed so much in the last decade. Especially because, looking now, there's so many hazard setters. Look how many, this is just OU, and there's a lot of relevant Pokemon that have spikes now. And actually, now that I'm looking at it, every single one of these Pokemon actually has multiple hazards. Like Clawsire, spikes, T-spikes, Stealth Rock. Garchomp, spikes, Stealth Rock. Glamora, spikes, T-spikes, Stealth Rock. Meowscarada, T-spikes, spikes. Orthworm, spikes, Stealth Rock. Tinglu, spikes, Stealth Rock. A lot of these Pokemon, they can really start hazard stacking by themselves, and you don't even have to run one of these. You could run stuff like Great Tusk for Stealth Rock in addition to one of these with just spikes or something. There's a lot of Pokemon that set up hazards, and the biggest offender is this idiot right here. This idiot right here with this stupid ability, Toxic Debris. I mean, this thing literally gets a free Toxic Spike just because you hit it with a physical attack. This thing could get up multiple hazards in one turn. So it makes sense that this, in combination with Goldengo enabling them because you can't remove the hazards effectively, no surprise that there's a ton of hazard stacking HO right now. But there's no better anti-hazard stacking move than Chord Change. So yeah, Rapid Spin and Default can get rid of hazards, but Chord Change actively punishes you for setting up hazards and stacking them up, because this, like we were saying, this idiot Glamora, you could say oh, it gets a free Toxic Spike after you hit it. Okay, that's just one more Toxic Spike that gets sent back to your side of the field when I click Chord Change. Just the existence of Chord Change, don't get me wrong, stuff like Garchomp, stuff like Tinglu, stuff like Clawsire, these are good Pokemon that are still going to get used. It's not oh, Stealth Rock is just horrible now, you can't use Stealth Rock because Chord Change is in the game. But those hyper offensive teams, that like had like dedicated Glamora lead just to get as many hazards up as possible because they knew that they were probably going to be able to stop you from ever taking them off. Like those teams like that are seriously threatened by the existence of court change. But there's another aspect of court change that a lot of people actually forget about. And I mean, what's another annoying thing on hyper offense right now? This idiot. He does this. He does this. And then you have Annihilate, you have Espatra, or some annoying setup sweeper sitting behind screens. And I mean, Grimstar is everywhere right now. He's everywhere right now. And another thing about court change is court change flips screens. So you steal screens. Like screens will go onto your side of the field if they set it up. So that's another aspect of HO that's like seriously punished by the existence of court change. And that's a really big deal. That's a really big deal. Like if Cinderace is really popular, like people are gonna have to like alter those HO teams because like this move messes a lot of those builds up a lot. And something like, I don't know, something like this, you know, what's it called? Something like this with boots. Just like a pivot. Just like a pivot like this, you know, 3 attack court change. I think it'd be really, I mean, I think right now something like this would go crazy. Like something like this would go crazy right now. But court change is not like the only thing that's like good about Cinderace. Like Cinderace got banned last gen. Like it was a crazy Pokemon last gen. Like it just had absurd coverage, really fast, really strong. Because 116 attack is like 116 attack is good, but 116 attack with like high base power stabs like HJK and Pyro Ball, like this thing was annoying, but it did get nerfed. Like Protean did get nerfed, or Libero, whatever. I mean, I'm just gonna call it Protean for the rest of the video. I'm sorry, like it's Protean. That's what I call it. It's the same thing. But yeah, obviously now Protean only works on like the first turn. So now it's like, now I can bring in my Toxapex on a Cinderace, and even if it predicts and goes and hits me with a Zen Headbutt, I can like, you know, you could take any one hit, even Zen, on from Cinderace if you're Toxapex, and you could regen out and go into another Pokemon that can actually deal with pure Psychic Cinderace because it can't switch its type again. And you know, those coverage moves aren't going to hit as hard if it doesn't get stabbed on all of them. Like you could definitely pivot around Cinderace with like your Hippo or your Pex or some like mid ground a lot easier now that it can't just, you know, type change like crazy. So it's definitely going to be a lot less oppressive. But I mean, this thing still messes up a lot of like defensive like Pokemon that people are spamming right now, like stuff like Garganacl, stuff like Ting-Lu, stuff like Corviknight. Like you see like combinations of those kind of things on a lot of teams and they get messed up by Cinderace. Like it's just a strong Pokemon with like really good stabs. Like you have like, I mean, what do we have here? Like there's so many. Yeah, Iron Head, Gunk Shot, obviously like the U-turns and Headbutt. They actually gave it Swords Dance this gen too, but like Swords Dance probably won't be too good because you're just going to become pure normal if you Swords Dance, and then you basically have no stabs. But so you probably would rather run Bulk Up over Swords Dance still, because at least you get the fighting stab, so you can still have like stab HJK. Or if you use a Swords Dance, you probably just use Blaze. But like either way, like this thing has a ton of coverage, and I mean it's similar in Meowscarada like conceptually, because it's like fast Protean pivot. But I mean, this thing has like stronger moves, and it has like different coverage options because like stronger fighting move. It has a steel move. It has a, you know, a strong poison move. And Meowscarada obviously has like knockoff and like, you know, auto crit and other things. Like they're both good offensively for different reasons, but this thing definitely messes up like some certain teams. I guess there's stuff like Dondozo and like Skeledirge that can handle it pretty well, but I think like even like offensively, like if you wanted to run like 4 attack, it could probably be good. But core change is like definitely crazy in the current metagame. I guess if this thing like really takes off, I guess it'd be interesting to see if like Hippo makes a little bit of a resurgence, because right now no reason to play Hippo when Ting-Lu exists. Ting-Lu is just like Hippo but like bulkier, and with like honestly more useful moves. It's just way better. But Tinglu gets messed up by Cinderace and Hippo doesn't. So I mean, maybe that'll give Hippo a little bit of a niche. I kind of low-key, I kind of doubt it. I think Tinglu is still probably just better. But I mean, this thing is just like 119 speed. Also, like, I mean, that puts you at the same speed tier as Roaring Moon. You already know how mad games are going to be decided by Roaring Moon Cinderace speed ties. But you're faster than Valiant and Chi-Yu and Garchomp and a bunch of and Iron Moth and a lot of those guys. Yeah, this Pokemon's still gonna be good. Like, I know I got nerfs, but like having 4 potential stab options when you have like high base power moves like this, like, I mean, this thing is still gonna threaten so many teams. And you know, I mean, being able to beat this guy so consistently is like huge on its own. Like, core change is like such a good tool, and then you Oko this thing always. Like, even if your boots, like even max HP always gets Oko'd by like Boots, Jolly Boots, Cinderace, Pyro Ball, like always. Like, you don't even have to be banded. Like, this thing just, I mean, this thing takes care of Goldengo, and that's important. I mean, Goldengo is the most common Pokemon right now. It is a little worse than Meowscarada against like some specific stuff like Dondozo and like Great Tusk, which hurts. But like Cinderace also has other Pokemon that it's better against. So like, you know, Cinderace will have a place. I can't imagine that Cinderace isn't going to shake up the metagame like a good bit, for sure. And I'm excited for it. I think it's cool that, you know, we're kind of seeing some Pokemon come out, you know, before home. I know Charizard came out a couple weeks ago, but he's a lot less important in OU. But, you know, it's a cool thing. And I definitely, you know, I had to drop a little video on it. That's my boy. I've been missing Cinderace. I've been missing him. So that's going to conclude this video. I'm going to have tons of content on Pokemon Scarlet and Violet on this channel. I mean, this metagame is ever changing. They could drop a Pokemon at any moment. Like, stuff is just crazy right now. But that's going to be all for today. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.